President Tinubu addresses World Economic Forum in Riyadh, says removal of fuel subsidy necessary to reset Nigeria's economy.
Population growth that Africa experiences, the diversity of its resources must be married with its economic opportunity.
Minister of Solid Minerals Development wants illegal miners to form registered cooperatives or face mines marshals.
They arrested some people in Nasarawa, so I've asked them to compile all the details so that we'll push this out to the media.
Security experts advocate increased government presence in local government areas to checkmate growing demand for small arms. Hello and welcome to the news desk at 3 on NTA News24. We are reaching you live from Abuja. I am Olajide Bello. Nigeria President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has advocated need for local currency to be allowed to find its level and compete with the rest of the world currencies. President Tinubu said this during a speech at the World Economic Forum in Riyadh on Sunday.
A very vibrant, youthful population, interested in discoveries by themselves, and highly ready for technology, good education, committed to growth. We were able to manage that and partition the economic drawback and the fallout of the subsidy removal. The capital formation that is necessary to drive the economy, like agriculture, food security, innovation, technology advancement, must be an inclusive program of the entire world. No one should be left behind. The fear of lack of capital in Africa, stigmatization, and I'm glad the world is recognizing this.
Malaysian Prime Minister Anwar Ibrahim criticized Western countries for what he claimed to be a complete abdication of responsibility regarding the issues of Gaza. The Malaysian Prime Minister mentioned that his country has established strong engagements with the United States and Europe while also maintaining excellent bilateral relations with China, South Korea and Japan.
Fiscal responsibility. At the same time, do not lose sight of the key priorities which is relevant in this session, the issue of globalization, of interdependence. We adopt a very fierce foreign policy position to engage and depend on the support, collaboration, investments from the West, United States, Europe. At the same time, maintain excellent bilateral relations with China, Korea, Japan.
With the theme Global Collaboration, Growth and Energy for Development, the two-day gathering brought together over 1,000 global leaders from 92 countries. Attendees including heads of state and government, leaders from both public and private sectors, as well as representatives from international organizations, academic institutions and non-governmental organizations. President Bola Tinubu says his administration is investing in technology that is tailored towards ensuring transparency and accountability in government and accelerating public sector performance and service delivery to the Nigerian people. Speaking during a meeting with Microsoft founder and philanthropist Bill Gates, emphasizing his unwavering commitment to deliver reliable technology that will support a national consumer credit system and many other critical new government interventions for all Nigerians, the president says resistance is often expected when efforts are made to strengthen systems and forestall malfeasance. In his remarks, Bill Gates informed the president of one identity technological platform that can integrate variegated data while explaining the centrality of data harmonization to planning, security and tax efficiency. Bill Gates says Nigeria has the capacity to manage technological system as the nation brims with talented youth. And back home in Nigeria, the Ministry of Solid Minerals Development says following the 60 days deadline given to illegal miners, 70 cooperative societies have been formed and will now be integrated into the formal mining industry, where royalties can be paid to the federal government. Minister of Solid Minerals Development, Dele Alake, announced this at the 2-day step-down retreat for staff of the ministry in Abuja. The minister, however, notes that illegal miners yet to farm cooperatives will face the mines marshals.
We are still employing the persuasive method, because some of them are still, some will have some logistics problems of bringing their members together. And we've said that they should come to us if there's anything the ministry can do to, fast track their own process of forming these cooperatives. And they are really doing that. So it's open-ended. However, those who now refuse to toe that line of reasoning, or reason, then we have the kinetic approach, the coercive approach of security. We unleash the security agents on them, and we have been doing that as well. Only last week, the mines marshal that we established, they arrested some people in Abuja here. They arrested some people in Nasarawa. So I've asked them to compile all the details so that we'll push this out to the media, so that others will learn that, illegality does not pay.
And away from the mining sector, the need for more manifestation of government presence in local government areas across the country has re-echoed on Good Morning Nigeria. Guests believe this will checkmate growing local demand for small arms and weapons, as well as regain control instead of a situation which gives non-state actors the fertile ground for criminality. Lydia Sampson reports.
Criminals are purely criminals who perpetrate criminalities irrespective of differences. Citizen participation in identification of criminals and criminal sympathizers, Gaston Good Morning Nigeria says, must be prioritized without sentiments and emotions.
Now, most of our people have become informants to criminals. Do you know why it is so? Government instruments of controlling the population, like we in the police, when we join, they want to call information money. That used to be available to DPO, to area commander. Is that information money you give to people to give you information about what is happening in the society? Now, if security agents are no longer having information money, bandits are now giving information money to our villagers. Therefore, as your troop take off from the state capital, going towards the local government, as soon as vehicle passes, they will call them. They say they are coming.
We should try to ensure that the average person is encouraged to be more patriotic, 1, by reporting, 2, by observation, 3, by participating also. Because unless the average citizen is able to own up that, look, we're all together.
Almost all the government ministries, departments and agencies that have responsibility for security are also contributing to that. So the police, as an example, from time to time would mop up small arms and light weapons.
Security experts insist conducting an audit on small arms and light weapons is sacrosanct. They also suggested the arrest of local weapon producers, reorientation of the citizens to do away with the militarization of their psyche, that they must own weapons to feel safe.
We have recorded a lot of success in terms of reduction of attack and fatality. And of course, the arms mopping from the ex-terrorists and other criminal elements is getting increased.
Okay.
And we are getting them into our, armories and in safe places.
If you want us to have the kind of Africa we desire in our hearts, the peaceful Africa, the developing Africa, the focused Africa, then it's good governance.
They urge government to ensure deployment of technology in border management and tracking of illicit weapons. The guests reiterate the need for more awareness creation on the negative impact of complete entrepreneurs whose goal is deepening the criminal economy for dangerous and deadly purposes. In Abuja, Lydia Samson, NTA News.
And away from security matters, the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, is appealing to Nigerians to develop trust in the electoral process towards the attainment of the much-needed integrity of the entire system. This was at a reflection roundtable on 1 year after the 2023 general election held in Abuja. Timothy Yusuf reports.
Report presentation entitled Electoral Trust Restored, Nigeria's Electoral Process, 1 year after the 2023 general election. The year 2023, memorable in the nation's democracy, as 7th consecutive general elections was held. Additional off-cycle elections and key courts rulings on electoral disputes are areas of focus here. Despite some advancements, notably in voter biometric accreditation and a new legal framework, the elections some observers reviewed had gaps that needed to be filled. It is for this reason that Yaga Africa convened this round table to review the state of Nigeria's electoral process a year after the 2023 general election.
What exactly do we need to do beyond what we have done before? What are those things that we need to put on the table to help us have a better elections? How do we engage the government of the day?
The conversations here also aimed to foster discussion among key stakeholders from INEC, political parties, security agencies, civil society and media to propose enhancements for the electoral process and contribute to enduring electoral policy reforms.
Every time the Election Commission puts on the ground regulations and guidelines in order to address issues of electoral integrity, political actors are not looking at how to abide by these regulations. They are looking at how to subvert these regulations.
Though the 2023 general election was better than the previous election, it also had its lapses that required and demand urgent electoral reform to address ahead of the 2027 general election. The National Assembly is committed to delivering a reform and improved electoral legal framework within an acceptable record time.
Participants are hopeful that resolutions from this meeting will bring forward an enhanced quality of future elections, maybe from the forthcoming Edo and Ondo off-season governorship elections. Timothy Yusuf, NTA News.
Let's take a break now. More reports when we return. Thanks for being there. The Federal Road Safety Corps Marshal Dauda Abiu condemned the fatal road crash that claimed 19 lives on Sunday, 28 April 2024 at Okene Bypass on the Okene-Lokoja Highway in Kogi State after enduring over 3 hours. In a statement signed by the Corps Public Education Officer Jonas Agu, the FRSC emergency rescue teams deployed to the rescue the victims could not achieve desired results as the efforts they put into the rescue operations was unduly hindered by the inferno that engulfed the two vehicles involved after spending more than 3 hours trying to rescue the victims. The crash, which involved two vehicles comprising of a Dangote truck and a Toyota Hiace bus, was said to have been caused by a route violation, one-way and wrongful overtaking. The corpses of the dead victims have been deposited at the Okene General Hospital. And the story of Eleme tanker explosion has dominated the media space in the last 2 days. Several lives lost, vehicles burnt, and huge impact on the economy of River State have remained a talking point. Marian Vincent Oko, who has been following the unfortunate fire incident, visited Eleme community to feel the pulse of the people.
The name Eleme no doubt rings a bell due to its significance to the economy of the country. The famous local government area in Rivers State comprises 10 communities which are not only blessed with natural resources such as oil and gas, but also engages in agricultural activities. Unfortunately though, the constant fire explosions which most often emanate from either petrol or gas has remained a source of concern to indigents of the area. The magnitude and impact of such explosions are better imagined than seen, just like the recent Friday night explosion, which colossal damages are still being counted.
We are in a big shock because the incident that happened to both members of my subjects, my community, and also North Indigens and other Nigerians that they are coming to work. You know, here's an industrial environment where activities of the federal government and one of the economic strength of the federal government is here. Families have been affected, and what do I have to say? It will say that the federal government have to look at this. Most of these impatient drivers, it is one of the major costs in that place.
If the road a lot of people will not have died in the process.
Certainly, the memory of Friday night, April 26, 2024, will continue to find its way into the minds of indigents, residents, and thousands of road users, including those whose means of livelihood are situated along the petrochemical junction axis of Eleme. Families of those whose destinies were truncated by that devastating fire explosion will continue to wish it never happened.
We are mourning because people coming to our own community to live and do business, we are happy with them. But when we see this kind of thing happen in Eleme land, Eleme people are crying. Eleme people are feeling sad. It's not good.
Now that the federal government deemed it necessary to construct this road, I think we have no option than to advise them to expedite actions and to observe safety as a top priority.
While the actual number of fatality recorded in the tanker explosion incident is yet to be determined, about 74 vehicles have been counted to be burnt, excluding those that were burnt beyond recognition. While the people are still mourning their losses, the visit of the River State Governor, Siminalayi Fubara, and his deputy, for them, is something to hold on to.
I've already asked the agency, the special agency, to give us a full brief so that we can come into the situation fully.
Although normalcy has been restored in the area, the clarion call from the people still remains: proper examination of the mental health of drivers of these heavy-duty vehicles by their employers to forestall the kind of accident that resulted in this fire explosion, which was clearly avoidable.
Ogun State Governor Dapo Abiodun has promised to compensate the victims of yesterday's explosion at Itaoshin along the Abeokuta-Lagos Expressway. The governor, who visited the scene of the incident, and victims receiving treatment at the hospital, also promised to pay the medical bills of the injured victims. Lekan Agbonde reports.
The Itaoshin scene of the gas explosion along the Abeokuta-Lagos Expressway has continued to attract residents, including the Ogun State Governor, who went on site scene of the level of destruction done to the properties in the area, expressing shock over the incident and described the inferno as an unforeseen situation.
The truck had mechanical issues, and the driver was struggling to control the truck. In the course of that, an accident occurred, and there was an explosion. That explosion reverberated across the entire neighborhood.
The governor promised to relocate and compensate the victims and pay the hospital bills of those injured.
I have directed that 1 or 2 buildings be evacuated until our regulatory agency that's in charge does the required integrity tests on those buildings to ensure that they are safe for our people to continue to live in there.
He further speaks on the way forward to prevent future reoccurrence.
As a state government and as a responsible one, we are going to ensure that we put the required legislation in place to provide the required oversight.
Eyewitnesses' account indicates that the lone accident, which occurred on Saturday, 27th April 2024 at about 5 in the evening, was as a result of brake failure of a truck laden with gas, where the driver lost control of the vehicle and ran into the road median, resulting in the explosion. It was gathered that while the driver of the truck is still on the run, the assistant driver lost his life in the incident, and his remains have been deposited at the General Hospital, Ijaye. 4 vehicles were also burned to ashes, and 5 shops were affected by the inferno. In Abeokuta, Lekon Agbode, NTA News.
And to election matters now. The local government election conducted in Oyo State over the weekend has concluded with candidates of the People's Democratic Parties, PDP, sweeping all the 33 chairmanship seats. Correspondent Oyeyinka Omole witnessed the declaration of the result and now reports.
Returning officers accompanied by electoral officers from each of the 33 local government areas of Oyo State took their turn to declare the result of the chairmanship poll and returned the winners.
ZLP 84, that's Bashir Olumuyiwa Alade of People's Democratic Party, having scored the majority of valid votes, is hereby declared winner of the election and returned.
Candidate of the People's Democratic Party, PDP, cleared all the 33 chairmanship seats, while their closest contenders are candidates of All Progressives Congress, APC. The results were received by the chairman, Oyo State Independent Electoral Commission, Dr. Isiaka Olagunju, and his commissioners, in the presence of representatives of security agencies in the state, election observers, National Orientation Agency, and members of Inter-Party Advisory Council, IPAC, among others.
Thank you so much. We appreciate you. Of course, we don't claim to be angels. We don't claim to be saints. We are not perfect. There are areas of improvement. We acknowledge that. Anyhow, we promise you that it will reflect in our report to the government.
The Commission promised improvement on identified areas of challenges for future elections as chairmen-elects await their certificate of return. In Ibadan, Oyeyinka Omole, NTA News.
You're watching the News Desk on 3 and NTA News 24. Here's a look at our top stories. President Tinubu addresses World Economic Forum in Riyadh, says we need to reset Nigeria's economy.